Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me. There we go. It's a little chunky football. I've been in this little spot for a while, and I ran a chatterbait through them, and it's just not the right conditions for a chatterbait. So I went down to this little SKT Mini MR. I've done some videos on this bait. Nice bass. Get it back in the water. SKT Mini MR. So it's a medium running crankbait. See how small it is. Very finesse. And we're fishing some areas that get a lot of pressure, and it's not the suitable conditions you want for really any type of technique. Maybe dragging a soft plastic or something on the bottom. So I've been here for a little while now, probably made 20 casts, chatterbaiting, and I just could tell looking in the water that it's not right for that. We need more wind or some clouds. First thing in the morning, they'd bite it. Last hour of the day, they'd definitely bite it, but I needed something a little more subtle, a little more finesse. So we went to this crankbait. It's a medium running crankbait, but I'm fishing it in like a couple feet of water because I'm barely turning that reel handle. I'm pausing it, kind of yo-yoing it. So I think a lot of times we think crankbaits, small, tight wobble, are just for cold water. I like to use them in high pressure places where a lot of people fish. That's probably where I throw these baits the most. Now I will throw them in cold water. Anywhere you have a lot of frequent boat traffic, these little baits are perfect for that. We're gonna roll back here. I don't know how shallow these fish have gone. That one was in like 2 feet. And I'm not just gonna throw this bait, I'll switch to a swim jig. That's a little more subtle offer than that chatterbait. I've got some bigger crankbaits that I'll probably get rigged up here if I think it is a cranking deal. But I'm seeing a lot of fish come up and feed, which this is the time of year you get water 60 degrees. That buzz bait, that frog is gonna play. I don't know if I'm gonna go that extreme yet. If it was cloudy, I would for sure. But I just think they're feeding on bait. I think we have a lot of little bait fish in here. This is probably the perfect imitator for that. And these fish are super pre-spawn. They're eating everything, so this shouldn't be too hard to catch another one as long as I get my boat positioned the right way. And I think I might be on top of the fish. It's hard when you got to fish so shallow. That's why I think it's important to keep the boat out. Keep it out in 6 or 7 feet and make plenty of casts out there before you come in, because a lot of times you may have males up in 2 feet of water, but those bigger females are going to be out. And that's not just the pre-spawn. The same thing happens in the post-spawn. So I'm going to go to the steeper side of this point, and I'm probably going to go fish on the steep side for a little bit just to see what's going on over there. It's still fairly early in the year. I know we've had a good warming trend, and it is March. Fish are moving shallow. Not a very big fish. Not a very big fish at all. I just got him foul hooked. All right, so with these little baits, you're going to catch a lot of little fish as well. But if that starts happening, you have a couple options. Go to a little bit bigger size crankbait. So this is about the size of a 1.0. I'm catching fish that are about a little bigger than a pound. So you know, I think it's key when you are fishing with little baits, they better be on spots where you've already caught a big fish maybe, or you just know that it's a likable big fish type place, like a causeway, a bridge. I think that's very important when you get into finesse fishing. You must be throwing these baits where big ones live. Now you're still going to catch plenty of little ones. So I've done quite a few videos on this medium running finesse style crankbait. Now you can do a lot with this bait. So the boat right now is in 5 feet of water. So I can hit the bottom with this bait out here in 5 feet. I can also throw it up in 2 feet and fish it where I want. So if you see me, a lot of the times I'm just like almost dragging it like you would a Texas rig. Because if I just reel it, I'm going to reel it right into the bottom. So a lot of times I just barely want it. It's going plenty fast. It's really subtle, tight wobble. It's a great color for clear water. Any of those translucent colors. Perfect for this clear water. And in the springtime, when you don't necessarily know if the quality bites are going to be on the inside grass line or the outside grass line, right up there in the wood on the bank or out here near the main creek channel, this is a perfect bait. Now, if we had clouds, wind, you know, there's a lot of other baits that I would prefer to be throwing. Bigger stuff like a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, a bigger shallow running crankbait. But since we have not suitable conditions for catching fish, I really don't know where those bigger fish are going to be. So I don't necessarily think all the giants are going to be up in 2 feet of water just because we don't have suitable conditions for that to go down. And I would be fishing completely different. There was some wind, some clouds, but we don't have any of that. So this is a much tougher fishing day. So you gotta really switch it up. But if we're just catching small ones, we gotta go. We gotta look elsewhere. We need places that set up good for these conditions. So a grass line, you really want the pressure to be dropping, the barometric pressure to be low. But if this is all you got to fish, lake's down a little bit. I don't know if all that wood up there has enough water in it to go up there and fish it. If there was another foot or two in the lake, I think that would be really good jig swimming cover and flipping and all that with these conditions. Oh God. That's another little one. Actually, it's not that small. It's decent. That's decent. Come in here and catch a limit on a day like today, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. These ones probably aren't gonna do you any good in a tournament right now, but If you need to come in here and catch 5, maybe it's a multi-day tournament, maybe you just want to have a lot of fun, these are a good size. Take your kid fishing, perfect size for that. If you watch, I'm just kind of fishing it like I would a Texas rig. And I think I'm in the perfect zone. So I'm kind of right on the outside edge, fishing around eelgrass. And when you get at the end of the cast, 2 feet of water. I've had one bite up there dirt shallow. A lot of them are coming like halfway back to the boat. But I think on a day like today, pre-spawn, early springtime, sunshine is going to move these fish around. I don't think they're going to be in a really good feeding mode when it comes to what bait you can catch them on. And I'm catching okay quality. And the way they're hitting this thing, I really do feel like this is probably the best option. And I'm having fun. So we're going to stay in here and keep throwing this. Keep that boat in 4.5 feet of water. Perfect crankbait for a day when you have no wind, barely, no clouds, not one. And when you reel this bait slow, it still looks really good. It's really natural. We have a greenish tint here, probably 2 feet of visibility. So fairly clear water. I'm not moving the trolling motor a whole lot. I'm trying to keep it as quiet as I can because we're going to be in this little general area. All my bites have come in pretty small little section. I'm going to venture out a little bit because I ventured to the other side of that point after I got that first bite. Didn't catch anything over there, but I've seen some fish blow up. There's a ton of bait in here, so I think they're moving around a lot. I definitely have a little zone that I'm keying in on. And the further we get back in this pocket, okay, so that's what, I thought that was a bite. There you go. Think we're matching the hatch? I think we're matching the hatch probably pretty good. I mean, that is almost exactly. That little bit of purplish blue. Man, that might be the best matching the hatch I've ever done. So setup is really important for this technique. Anytime you're dealing with small baits with little hooks, you need a forgiving enough rod. You don't pull those hooks out of the fish when you do get a bite, and that you can cast this lighter bait. Now this bait casts really well, but I still go down to a 6.6 medium action. Anytime I'm throwing really small baits, I like that shorter rod. Just seems like it casts better. And medium action is key. You don't want to horse them, but you do want to definitely catch up with them when they eat it running towards you. That's why I like a 6.3 to 1 reel. And anytime I'm cranking deeper than a couple of feet, I like 12-pound tests. So if I'm throwing a square bill, something shallow running, it's typically always 15. But I'm fishing this bait out a little bit deeper. Now I'm throwing it into 2 feet, so I'm keeping my rod tip up, slowly moving it. But then once I get it out to the boat, you'll see I'll put my rod tip down towards the water, start turning that handle a little bit faster because I want to keep that bait near the bottom. Sunny day, fish are going to be tucked down right up against the bottom. So I want this bait just kind of deflecting off the bottom, deflecting off the grass. You got fish moving around this time of year, so you might catch one up in a foot of water, and then you might catch one out here almost underneath the boat. There's bait everywhere in this general area, so fish are constantly, oh man, like I said, there's some out there. We've got all size classes. Next is a big one. We need a big one next. There's just a lot of fish in here, so this one could, these are new pants, but go in my pocket. You better not swim up here where these big ones are at. He'll get eaten. Maybe that's a sign that they're going to turn on here. And one cool thing I will tell you about my setup is most middle of the road, affordable rods, you know, $80, $100, they have a pretty moderate bend. So that's perfect for a crankbait. So most rods that you buy in that affordable bracket are going to have this moderate bend. Now that's exactly what you want on a treble hook bait. Fast action or extra fast rods are usually your higher end rods that you're going to spend upwards of 150, 200 and more for. And those are great if you're fishing a jig and a pig, worm, you know, something on the bottom where you need a lot of sensitivity. You don't want too much sensitivity when you're cranking. You know, a lot of times you just want that rod to load up and that fish to be on there. You don't want to pull the hooks away from you. You really want them to get it. So for $80, you can get this rod. Medium action, 6'6", 6'3" to 1, reel, 12-pound test. And you could go up to a square bill. You could throw a lot of stuff on this same setup. You know, you could throw a spinner bait, you could throw a jerk bait. So it's really an all-purpose rod when it comes to any bait that you want the fish to really get the bait good. There he is. So I think we've gotten to the point with this bait, we might need to go a little bit bigger if we want to catch anything or just fish a little bit differently. I mean, obviously it is working. And we know that these fish will bite this. We got a couple options we're gonna probably try. And that's maybe throw some bigger baits around here or go to an area where I know some bigger fish live. The conditions really aren't changing in our favor. So I think what we're probably gonna do, make a few throws here with a bigger bait, and then we're gonna take this bait to a different part of the lake. Maybe there's some more quality, but it's kind of keyed me in on a bait that'll work when most of what I got on the deck's not working. Try that SKT Mini MR from Lucky Craft. Good luck to you guys, and I'll see you on the water.